Ethan walked through the ruins of the battlefield, his boots sinking into the ash that covered the ground. The sky above was dark, filled with heavy clouds that carried the smell of smoke and iron. Broken weapons and shattered helmets lay scattered. Across the dust, silent proof of a war that had ended but left its scars. He moved carefully, his rifle hanging from his shoulder. Every sound echoed too loudly his own steps, the wind brushing against torn alien flags, and the crack of stones under his weight. He had come here searching for answers, but he expected only silence. Then he felt an eyes watching him. His body froze. Instinct told him he was not alone. Slowly, he turned, and there she was. An alien warrior, tall and fierce. Her armor was black but shimmered faintly with strange blue light. Her face was sharp, with markings across her skin like burning scars. She held a long spear, its edge glowing as if it were alive. Ethan gripped his weapon, his heart pounding. He had fought aliens before, but this one was different. She was not attacking, not rushing toward him with rage. She stood still, her piercing eyes locked on him. "You," she said, her voice low but powerful, "meet your son." The words struck him harder than any weapon could. Ethan froze, unable to breathe. For a moment, his mind raced. What did she say? Son? He laughed nervously, shaking his head. "I don't know you. I've never seen you before," he said firmly, but his voice cracked slightly. The alien warrior stepped aside, and from behind her, a figure appeared, a child. No taller than Ethan's waist, the boy's skin was pale, but his eyes were unmistakably human, wide, brown, and filled with something strange. Ethan stumbled back, his chest felt tight. The boy stared at him silently, not afraid, not confused, only watching, as if he had been waiting for this moment. "This is not possible," Ethan whispered. His hands trembled. He wanted to believe it was a trick, some cruel alien illusion, yet, deep inside, a cold shiver ran down his spine. The warrior's eyes softened, though her stance stayed strong. "Blood does not lie," she said. Her voice carried no emotion, only truth. Ethan shook his head again. "No, you're lying. I have no child. I never." His words stopped, because the boy tilted his head in the exact same way Ethan used to when he was confused. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but it pierced Ethan's heart. The silence grew heavy. The air around them felt like it was closing in. The warrior kept watching him, waiting for his reaction. The boy's eyes never left his face. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan asked, his voice now full of anger. "Why bring me here? Why say these things?" The warrior slowly lowered her spear but did not drop it. She stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. "Because the truth must be known. He carries your blood and your future. Deny it if you want, but destiny cannot be denied." Ethan's chest burned, his breath quickened. He wanted to turn away, to escape, but his legs refused to move. Something bound him to that place, to that child, to the eyes that mirrored his own. The boy finally spoke, his voice soft. "You came." The two words shattered Ethan's last defense. His throat tightened. He could not answer. He could not understand. How could this child, half alien, half human, exist? Lightning flashed above the ruins, casting long shadows across the broken ground. The warrior stood tall, the boy stood silent, and Ethan stood trapped between disbelief and fear. He tightened his grip on his weapon, though he knew it would not save him from the truth. "This is not over," he whispered to himself. But deep down, he already knew. His life had changed forever, and in that moment, surrounded by ruins and shadows, Ethan realized the real battle had only just begun. Ethan could still hear the words echoing inside his head. "Meet your son." They would not leave him. No matter how much he tried to push them away, his heart pounded as the alien warrior kept staring, her spear still glowing faintly with dangerous light. The boy's eyes were the hardest part to face. He stood so still, watching Ethan without fear, his small hands clenched at his sides. his expression calm, almost too calm for a child. Ethan felt something pulling at him, a strange force he did not want to accept. "No," Ethan said sharply, his voice rough. "This is not true. This cannot be true." He pointed at the boy, his hand shaking. "He is not mine. I don't know you. I don't know him." The alien warrior's face did not change. Her voice was calm, like steel. "Deny it if you wish, but blood calls to blood. You feel it, don't you?" Ethan clenched his fists. His whole body trembled with anger and fear. "All I feel is your trick. This is some game. You think you can confuse me, but I know better." The warrior stepped closer, the ash crunching beneath her armored boots. She looked down at Ethan with eyes like burning stars. "I have no reason to lie," she said. "This child carries your blood. He's the bridge between our kinds." The boy took one small step forward, his gaze locked on Ethan for the first time. Ethan noticed his movements steady, careful, almost practiced, and then, like a knife in his chest, Ethan saw it again. The boy tilted his head to the side, just like Ethan always did when he was lost in thought. The world felt colder. Ethan shook his head violently, trying to break the feeling. "Stop. Don't do this. Don't make me believe." "I won't. I can't." His words cracked, betraying the fear buried inside. The boy finally spoke, his voice soft, almost a whisper. "Why are you afraid?" Ethan froze, his throat tightened. The child's voice was not strange, it was clear. Human, too human. He wanted to shout, to tell the boy to be silent, but the words would not come. The warrior lowered her spear slightly, though her presence still felt heavy. "He is your blood. That is why you are here. That is why he waited." "Waited?" Ethan spat, his anger rising again. "For me? I never asked for this. I never wanted this. I don't even know how it's possible." His voice broke, echoing in the ruins. "I don't have a son." The silence that followed was heavy. The wind moved through the broken stones like a ghost, carrying his words into the distance. The warrior did not flinch. She only watched him, as though she had already seen this moment before. The boy spoke again, and his words were sharper than the warrior's spear. "But I know you, Ethan's." Chest tightened. He wanted to scream at the child, to demand an explanation, but instead, he took a step back. His boot struck a broken helmet, sending it clattering across the stone. The sound echoed like a warning bell. His mind was chaos. Every memory of his past twisted inside him. He remembered battles, long journeys across the stars, enemies who tried to break him, but never. Had he seen this boy? Never had he seen this warrior. So why did it feel so real? "No," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking. "This is impossible. You are lying, both of you." He lifted his rifle, not to fire, but to create a barrier between them and himself. "Stay away from me." The boy did not move. He only stared, his eyes glimmering in the dim light. "I waited because you promised," he said softly. Ethan's heart stopped. His grip on the rifle tightened. "What promise?" he demanded. His voice was shaking now, almost desperate. But the warrior stepped forward again, blocking the boy. Her voice was calm but unyielding. "There will be time for answers, but not now. What matters is that he is here, and so are you. Fate does not make mistakes." Ethan backed away, his breath heavy. His body wanted to run, but his legs would not obey. His mind screamed at him to reject everything, yet deep inside, something else whispered, "What if it's true?" He shook his head, trying to silence the thought. "No, I will not believe this," he said. His voice was firm, but his eyes betrayed him. The warrior did not chase him. She only stood tall, her spear glowing in the shadows. The boy lowered his gaze, whispering something so faint Ethan almost didn't hear. "I waited so long." And with those words, Ethan felt the ground beneath his beliefs begin to crack. The walls he had built in his heart started to break, but he forced himself to turn away. "This is not my child," he growled. "This is not my life." But as he walked deeper into the ruins, his mind would not let him escape. The boy's eyes followed him, The warrior's words echoed, and the truth he wanted to bury followed every step he took. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something more terrifying than any battle doubt. The ruins were quiet, except for the sound of Ethan's heavy breathing. He kept moving through broken stone and shattered machines, but the warrior and the boy followed close behind. No matter how far he walked, he could not escape their shadows finally. He stopped, his voice sharp. "I said I want the truth, not half words, not riddles. If you want me to believe anything, then tell me everything." The alien warrior stepped forward, her armor scraping lightly against the fallen wall. Her eyes glowed with a faint fire. "You ask for truth," she said. "But truth is not gentle, Ethan's." Jaw tightened. "I've seen war, I've seen death. Nothing can surprise me anymore." The warrior's expression did not change, but her voice carried a weight that made the air grow heavy. "Long before you came here, our worlds clashed. Humans and my kind did not meet in peace. The first contact was blood. Your soldiers fell, ours too. But in that storm of battle, a secret was planted." Ethan frowned, his hands curling into fists. He wanted to tell her she was lying, but deep inside, something pulled at him. A feeling he could not explain. The warrior raised her hand, and strange lines appeared on the broken stone beside her, glowing symbols from a language Ethan could not read. "Your commanders came with weapons, desperate to prove strength. Ours answered with fire, yet some among us looked deeper. They saw humans not as enemies, but as carriers of something rare." Her voice grew lower, almost like a whisper carried by the ruins themselves. "They believed your blood held a secret, a resilience unlike ours, so they took it, hidden, stolen from you, not with your will, but with force." Ethan's heart slammed inside his chest, his voice shook. "You're saying they," he pointed at the boy, his hand trembling, "made him from me?" The warrior did not flinch. He was not born in the way you know. His life was shaped by war. His blood is yours, his spirit is both. Ethan staggered back, his world tilted. He felt like the ground under him was gone. "That's madness." "I would know, I would remember." The boy finally stepped forward. His small voice carried through the silence. "Memory can be stolen." Ethan's eyes widened. He wanted to shout, but the words froze in his throat. The boy's voice was soft, but each word was heavy. "They took from you, but they gave me life. I waited for you." Ethan's breath caught. His mind screamed that this was wrong, impossible, but his chest burned with a strange ache he could not ignore. The boy's eyes were too familiar, too human. The warrior lowered her spear slightly, her voice calmer now. "He was meant to be a weapon. I was ordered to shape him into one, but I refused. I saw in him something more. He was not an experiment to me. He was a child. He was hope." Ethan shook his head. "Hope? No, this is a curse. You've turned him into a lie, a tool made from me without my choice." The boy's gaze did not break. His eyes locked onto Ethan's. "If I am only a tool, then why do I dream of a father's face? Why do I know the sound of your voice, even before you spoke to me?" Ethan's chest grew tight. His throat burned. He tried to look away, but he couldn't. The boy's words cut deeper than the warrior's story. The ruins around them seemed to lean in, every stone listening, every shadow waiting. Ethan's voice cracked. "This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense." The warrior stepped closer, her tone unyielding. "It makes sense because it is truth. You can run from it, but it will follow. The past made him, but the future needs him, and you." Ethan's grip on his rifle trembled. His body screamed for him to reject everything, but his heart whispered something he did not want to hear. He whispered back, almost to himself, "If he really is mine, then what am I supposed to do?" The warrior gave no answer, only silence. The boy's small voice broke it at last. "Stay," he said, a single word, soft and fragile, yet heavy enough to break Ethan's defenses. For the first time in years, Ethan felt weaker than any soldier should, not from wounds, not from war, but from truth. a truth he could not accept, yet could not deny. And in that moment, as the wind swept across the ruins, Ethan realized the past he never knew had caught him at last, and the secrets buried in blood were not done with him yet. The night grew colder as Ethan stood among the ruins. The warrior's words still burned in his mind. The boy's eyes still haunted him. He wanted to run, to vanish into the dust and forget this encounter. But something inside him refused to let go. The child walked quietly at his side. His small steps left shallow marks in the ash. He did not ask questions. He did not complain. He only walked, as if simply being near Ethan was enough. That silence unsettled Ethan more than words. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice sharp. "Stop following me. I don't need you. I didn't ask for this." The boy paused, but he did not step back. His voice was soft, steady. "I didn't choose it either." Those words pierced deeper than Ethan expected. He clenched his fists, anger mixed with something he could not name. The boy's calm acceptance felt heavier than any accusation. The warrior watched them from a short distance, her expression unreadable. She had not lifted her weapon again. She seemed almost patient, as though she knew the storm inside. Ethan would decide more than any battle. They moved together until they reached a broken tower. Ethan sat heavily against a stone, his rifle leaning beside him. The boy sat across from him, still silent, still staring. Ethan hated that stare. It reminded him too much of a mirror. Minutes passed. Ethan tried to focus on the ruins, the sky, anything but the child. But when he looked again, the boy was moving rocks with his bare hands. Small stones at first, then larger ones. His strength was unusual for his size, controlled but unnatural. Ethan's breath caught. How are you doing that?" The boy looked at him without pride or fear. "I don't know. It feels normal." He lifted a stone almost twice his size and set it down gently. "Sometimes I feel the world is lighter for me." Ethan swallowed hard. He had seen enhanced soldiers before, men changed by war experiments. But this boy, this was different. He was not trained, not mechanical. He was natural. And that scared Ethan more than any machine. "Stop," Ethan said, his voice harsh. "Don't show me more. I don't want to see it." The boy lowered his head, his hands still on the stone. For the first time he looked small, fragile. Ethan felt a pang of guilt but forced it away. Silence returned until the boy whispered, "Do you hate me?" Ethan's chest tightened. The question was so simple, yet so heavy. He wanted to say yes, to push the boy away forever. But when he looked at those eyes, his own eyes staring back, he could not speak. The warrior broke the silence, her voice calm but sharp. "He does not need your hate. He needs your choice. You cannot run forever, human." Ethan shot her a glare. "You think this is easy? You expect me to accept this like it means nothing? You've thrown a child at my feet and called him mine. What am I supposed to do with that?" The warrior's gaze did not waver. "You are supposed to see him, not as weapon, not as curse, but as what he is. He is alive. He is blood. Deny him if you must, but every breath you take beside him will remind you." The boy whispered again, "I don't want to be a weapon. I just want to be me." Ethan closed his eyes. His hands dug into the ash at his sides. His mind screamed to resist, but his heart twisted painfully. He thought of all the soldiers he had buried, all the orphans left behind by war. And now here was a boy who looked at him not as a savior, not as a commander, but as a father. His voice came low, almost broken. "I never asked for this. I never wanted this, but..." He opened his eyes and saw the boy staring, waiting. "But maybe I can't turn away." The warrior stepped back as if giving space. The boy's eyes lit faintly with something Ethan had not seen before, fragile but real. Ethan leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees, his voice softer. "I don't know if I can be what you need. I don't know if I can accept this, but I will not leave you here alone." The boy nodded slowly. He did not smile, but his shoulders eased, as though a heavy weight had finally shifted. The ruins around them felt quiet again. The storm in the sky rumbled above, but in that silence, a fragile thread was woven between man and child. Ethan did not name it, he did not admit it. But deep inside, he knew something had changed, and though the warrior said nothing, her eyes glimmered faintly, as if she had been waiting for this moment all along. The bond had begun. The ruins were silent when the first sound came, a low hum that shook the air. Ethan raised his head sharply, his soldier's instinct screaming. The alien warrior turned at once, her spear lifting. The boy's eyes widened, and for the first time, Ethan saw fear flash across his face. Out of the dark sky, ships descended, small and sharp. Their engines glowed red, burning like fire in the night. Ethan knew that design. He had seen it before in old battles. Raiders, ruthless and merciless. They did not come for peace. They came for blood. The warrior's voice was cold. "They have found us." Ethan gripped his rifle, his body tense. "Friends of yours?" Her eyes narrowed. "Enemies of both. They want the boy." Ethan's breath caught. His gaze snapped to the child. "Why?" The warrior did not answer, but her silence was enough. Ethan understood. If the boy was what she claimed, then to others he was not a child at all. He was a prize. The ships landed with a thunder of metal and dust. Figures emerged, armored aliens with jagged weapons glowing in their hands. Their voices shouted in a tongue Ethan could not understand, but their intent was clear. They wanted the boy. The warrior stepped forward, spear in hand, her voice like steel. "Stay behind me," she told Ethan. Ethan scoffed, raising his rifle. "Not a chance." The boy stood frozen, his small fists trembling. Ethan crouched beside him for a brief moment, his voice low. "Listen to me. You stay down. You don't move unless I say." The boy's eyes locked on his, desperate but trusting. He nodded, then the battle began. The first wave of raiders charged. The warrior moved like lightning, her spear slicing through the air. Every strike glowed, sending sparks and screams. Into the ruins, Ethan fired his rifle, each shot echoing like thunder. He aimed clean, fast, a soldier's precision never forgotten. But there were too many. They swarmed from all sides, climbing the rubble, their weapons flashing. Ethan's heart pounded, his mind racing. He glanced back. The boy was still crouched where he told him. But danger was closing fast. One raider broke through the line, charging straight for the child. Ethan's body moved before thought. He sprinted, tackling the creature to the ground. They wrestled, claws scraping against Ethan's armor. The alien snarled, teeth snapping. Ethan drove his knife into its neck. Rolling away just in time, the boy gasped. "Behind you." Ethan spun, firing into the darkness, dropping another raider. He realized with a chill that the boy wasn't panicking. He was warning. Sharp and precise. His senses were faster than a child should ever be. The warrior shouted, her spear blazing as she cut down another enemy. "They will not stop. Protect him." Ethan's voice cracked with anger. "I am protecting him." For a moment, their eyes met across the chaos, and Ethan saw it, the unspoken truth. They were fighting for the same thing. The boy stood suddenly, against Ethan's orders, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He lifted both hands, and the ground beneath their attackers shook. Stones rolled, dust swirled. Several raiders stumbled. Losing balance, Ethan froze, his breath gone. The child had power, real, raw, untrained, but enough to shift the battle for a heartbeat. "Get down!" Ethan shouted, his voice sharp. The boy dropped just as Ethan fired, clearing the path. The warrior lunged forward, finishing the last of the attackers with a flash of her spear. Silence returned, broken only by the sound of Ethan's heavy breathing. Bodies lay scattered, the ships burned in the distance. The ruins smelled of blood and fire. Ethan turned to the boy, grabbing his shoulders. "I told you to stay down." His voice thundered, but his hands shook. "Do you want to die?" The boy looked up at him, his eyes wet. "I only wanted to help." Ethan froze, his anger faltered, his chest tightened. He saw the boy's fear, but also something else, bravery. the kind only born from desperation. The warrior approached. Her spear dim once more. "He saved you as much as you saved him," she said. "Do not deny what he is." Ethan's jaw clenched. He wanted to argue, to push back. But when he looked at the boy, he couldn't. The child had listened when it mattered, had trusted him in the middle of chaos. And Ethan realized the truth he feared most. The boy was not just a burden. He was not just a lie. He was already becoming a soldier's son. Ethan released his grip. Slowly, his voice lower now, almost tired. "Next time, you listen to me, understand?" The boy nodded quickly, relief washing over his face. The warrior watched silently, her eyes unreadable, but in them flickered a faint light, as if the bond she had spoken of was no longer just beginning, but already forming. Ethan turned his gaze to the horizon, ships burning against the night. He knew more would come, stronger. He knew this fight was not the last. And though he still carried doubt, he also carried something new, a fragile trust, one forged in fire and fear. The test was not over, but for the first time, Ethan realized he did not stop. The fires of the fallen ship still glowed in the ruins. Orange light flickered against broken walls and the bodies of raiders. Ethan stood in silence, his rifle heavy in his hands. His chest rose and fell with sharp breaths, but his eyes kept drifting to the boy. The child sat on a stone, his small hands gripping his knees. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady, watching Ethan like a soldier waiting for orders. Ethan hated that look. It was too old for someone so young. The alien warrior stood near them, her spear resting against the ground. She seemed calm, but Ethan could see the tightness in her shoulders, the way her eyes searched the skies for more enemies. Finally she spoke, her voice quiet but sharp. "This will not be the last time they come. The boy's existence is no longer hidden. They will hunt until he is theirs." Ethan's voice was rough. "And what exactly is he? You've given me pieces, stories, shadows, but no real truth." He pointed at the boy, his hand trembling with frustration. "If I am tied to him, if my blood made him, then I deserve to know everything." The warrior's eyes narrowed for a long moment. She said nothing. Then she turned toward the broken tower and touched the stone. Symbols glowed faintly again, the same ancient language as before. "The truth is heavy, human. It will break you if you are not ready." Ethan stepped forward, his jaw set. "I'm already broken. Just tell me." The warrior looked at him, then at the boy. Her voice dropped lower, carrying a weight that seemed older than the ruins themselves. He was not born of love, nor of choice. He was born of war. Ethan's chest tightened. The words felt like blades. She continued, "When your kind first clashed with mine, some among us feared your strength. They studied your soldiers. They found in you something that resisted, something they could not destroy. They believed your blood carried the secret of survival. So they took it." Ethan's fists clenched. His mind screamed, "No, this cannot be." But his heart beat louder, faster. The warrior's eyes hardened. "The boy is the result of that theft. He carries your blood, but also ours. He was meant to be the perfect weapon, half human, half alien, a bridge of power, not of peace." Ethan staggered back. His breath came sharp and uneven. He stared at the boy, who now looked away, his small shoulders hunched, his hands trembling. The boy whispered, "I didn't ask to be made." His voice cracked, raw with pain. "I didn't ask to be a weapon." Ethan froze. His anger faltered, his heart twisted. This was not just a truth of war. This was a burden, laid on a child who never chose it. The warrior lowered her spear, her voice softer now. "I was ordered to shape him, to sharpen him into a blade. But I refused. I saw his eyes. I saw what he could be. I could not let him become their monster. So I hid him. I protected him. I waited for you to come." Ethan shook his head violently. "Waited for me? I didn't even know he existed. How could I protect someone I never knew?" The warrior's gaze was steady. "Because blood calls to blood, you were always bound to him, even across time and memory. You were meant to find him." Ethan's Voice cracked with rage and disbelief. Meant? No, this is manipulation. You expect me to accept a child created without my will and call it destiny. The boy looked up suddenly, his eyes wet, his voice trembling but strong. I don't care if it was destiny. I don't care if it was war. I just want to know who I am. He turned his gaze to Ethan. And I want to know if you see me. The ruins fell silent. Ethan's throat burned. His hands shook. He wanted to deny it, to push everything away. But those eyes, his eyes, mirrored in the boy, held him like chains. For the first time, Ethan saw not a weapon, not a mistake, but a child caught between worlds, carrying pain that no child should. He lowered his rifle, his voice raw. I don't know what you are. I don't know what they made you for, but I see you. Do you hear me? I see you. The boy's breath hitched. His hands tightened on his knees for a moment. Hope flickered across his face like fragile firelight. The warrior exhaled slowly, as if a long-held weight had shifted. Then perhaps there is still a chance, she whispered. Ethan looked at her sharply. A chance for what? Her eyes met his, glowing faintly in the dark. A chance to end what created him, or a chance to lose him forever. The wind howled through the ruins, carrying ash and dust. Ethan's chest was heavy, his mind torn, but he knew one truth now: there was no turning back. The revelation had changed everything. And in that broken night, Ethan realized that his fight was no longer just against enemies. It was against destiny itself, and alone. The ruins had grown silent after the battle. Only the crackle of burning wreckage remained. Ethan stood with the rifle still heavy in his hands. The alien warrior stood nearby, her spear resting but her eyes sharp. The boy sat between them, silent, waiting. The truth weighed on Ethan like a mountain. He had heard the story, his blood stolen. The boy created, not born, but shaped by war. Every instinct told him to reject it, to walk away before he lost himself. Yet his heart would not let him move. The boy's small voice broke the silence. If I am not yours, then tell me who I am. Ethan flinched. The words were simple, but they cut deeper than any weapon. He turned slowly, meeting the boy's eyes. His chest ached at the sight of them, too familiar, too human. The warrior spoke next, her voice low. You cannot undo what was done, but you can decide what he becomes. If you walk away, others will take him, and they will not be merciful. Ethan clenched his fists. His thoughts screamed, I didn't choose this, I never wanted this. But another voice inside him whispered, maybe choice doesn't matter anymore. The boy stood, stepping closer. His small hands trembled, but his eyes did not look away. I don't need a hero, he whispered. I just need you. Ethan felt the world tilt beneath him. His heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to resist, to deny, but the truth was already inside him. This boy was his blood, his shadow, his mirror. Suddenly, a sharp roar filled the sky. More ships, larger this time. Their lights tore through the clouds, beams of fire cutting across the ruins. The warrior lifted her spear instantly. They are coming again, she hissed. This time in greater numbers. Ethan looked at the boy, then at the sky. His mind raced. He could run, vanish into the ash, leave the boy and the warrior to their fate. Or he could stand, accept the impossible, and fight for something more than himself. His breath came slow, steady. He knelt in front of the boy, placing a hand on his shoulder. The boy flinched at first, but then stilled. Ethan's voice was rough but clear. Listen to me. If you are my son, then you are not alone. Not anymore. The boy's eyes widened, shimmering with something fragile hope. The warrior's gaze flickered with faint approval, though she said nothing. The ships drew closer, the ground trembling under their engines. Ethan rose to his feet, lifting his rifle. His voice was steady now, stronger than before. They want him? Then they'll have to go through me. The warrior stepped beside him, her spear glowing bright. Then we fight together. Ethan glanced at her, and for the first time, there was no anger in his eyes, only grim acceptance. Together, he said, The boy stood behind them, his small fists clenched, his voice soft but determined. "I will fight too." Ethan turned sharply. "Not yet." "Not until you're ready." The boy lowered his gaze, but his lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile. The first wave of enemy fire rained down. Stones shattered, dust filled the air. Ethan raised his rifle and fired into the light. The warrior's spear blazed as she charged. And for the first time, Ethan did not feel alone. He felt the bond thin, fragile, but real, between him, the warrior, and the boy who carried his blood. The battle had only begun. The future was uncertain. But Ethan had made his choice, no matter what came, no matter how many enemies fell from the skies. He would not walk away. He would stand, he would fight, and he would protect his son.